She didn't chase him. She didn't flatter him. She didn't even know who he was. But while everyone else tried to impress the man they knew would become the next CEO, she made him sit up, take notes, and ask questions. That's when he knew. He didn't need another performer. He needed a woman who saw straight through the noise. Welcome to Mr. Charles Stories, where the loudest stories are often written in silence. Comment: first connection. If you believe real love begins not with words, but with mutual respect, subscribe for more stories where quiet strength leads and life lessons leave lasting impact. Maren Clay didn't like attention. She liked clarity. She built her career behind the scenes, not in the front row. She thrived in glass-walled war rooms where operations were bleeding money and no one could explain why. She solved supply chain crises in languages she didn't speak, managed overpaid executives, twice her age, and refused to decorate her LinkedIn page with buzzwords or fake awards. So when she stepped into the private equity conference in Chicago, it wasn't to network. It was to work. She adjusted the lapel mic on her dark green blazer, pulled her low ponytail tighter, and walked calmly onto the stage. The ballroom wasn't full, but it was loud, at least until she spoke. Good morning. We're going to talk about sustainable leverage across family-owned logistics operations today. Not because it sounds sexy, it doesn't, but because some of you are bleeding quietly. Let's fix that. That was how she opened. No preamble, no fluff, no slides with flying bullet points. Just data, case studies, brutal facts, and sharp strategy. She didn't move her hands much. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Cyril Holt sat in the last row. He was scheduled to speak after her, the closing keynote. As Chief Operations Officer of Holt Group, a logistics giant reeling from 3 straight quarters of internal chaos, he was supposed to be the highlight of the day. But as Maren spoke, he didn't glance at his phone once. He leaned forward. She talked about a family-owned shipping network in New England that lost 40% of its market value in 2 years due to internal power struggles between siblings. The audience thought the company had folded. Maren paused. You all think it died. It didn't. It just went quiet while it restructured. She clicked once. A new chart appeared. The holding company re-emerged last quarter with a 2.3 times multiple and no announcement. How? They separated ego from equity. Half the room blinked. Cyril didn't. He wrote it down. When she stepped off stage, he stood before the applause faded. Maren didn't expect him. She was headed to the coffee station, already reviewing notes from her next client call, when a man with light stubble, a sharp grey suit, and a notepad stopped directly in front of her. You left one case study unfinished, he said without greeting. She looked up, surprised but unbothered. Which one? The Gallagher sibling dispute. You never said what happened to their holding company. She nodded once. They split operations. Legal arbitration forced a rotation model. Sister took port management. Brother retained fleet control. Silent buyout clause expires in 4th quarter next year. He paused. That wasn't in the slides. She shrugged. Didn't need to be. A moment passed between them. Then he extended a hand. Cyril Holt. She looked down at it. I know, she said quietly. I read your last earnings call transcript. And you still took the mic before me? He asked. She finally smiled. Your investors should thank me. He laughed. Genuinely. She turned to walk away. Dinner? He called after her. She didn't turn around. Text my assistant. She'll say no. But if you're serious, call. She walked off. He stood there, completely still, smiling like she'd just stolen something from him, and he didn't even want it back. They met 2 nights later, in a small rooftop bistro, with no menu and no press. Cyril booked the entire space. Maren ordered for both of them. He wore a charcoal jacket. She wore a navy wrap dress with simple earrings. The waiter brought lemon-scented water. Cyril broke the silence first. Do you always disappear after conferences? Maren tilted her head. I wasn't there to be seen. You were, he said. But you weren't performing. She gave a half smile. Neither were you. You just waited. I don't chase attention. I chase architecture, he replied. Structures that hold even when power shifts. She met his eyes. That's what I build. He didn't smile. He looked serious. For the first time. That's what I need. It wasn't a flirtation. It wasn't a line. It was a confession. Siren didn't date often or casually. Too many people wanted access. Too many expected performance. But with Maren, there were no performances, no makeup calls, no good morning texts laced with subtext. She sent contracts when she was busy, showed up for dinner with dry sarcasm and zero lipstick. She didn't ask for more time. She didn't offer excuses. He loved that about her. 3 months in, she met his silence with her own. When he needed space, she gave him structure. When he needed fire, she brought friction, not softness. He took her to meetings, not the public ones, the real ones, the ones with financiers who didn't care about charm, only returns. She spoke once per meeting, just once, and that was enough. He stopped seeing anyone else after week 2. He stopped questioning her role after week 6. He proposed at month 8, no ring, just a document. They signed it in private, hands steady, no vows, no wedding photos. No champagne flutes, just a document, 2 names, 1 silence that felt like home. The night after their courthouse wedding, they sat on the balcony of Siren's Manhattan apartment. He held her hand, uncharacteristically still. "Do you think she'll forgive this?" he asked quietly. Maren turned. "Your mother?" He nodded. Maren stared at him. "She doesn't have to. This isn't her life." Siren didn't respond. That pause, that single hesitation, would come back to her for years. She didn't bring it up again. But she never forgot it. The first rule they lived by was privacy. Maren didn't change her last name. Siren didn't announce the marriage to his team. There were no joint appearances, no diamond rings on display, no tagged photos, no whispered acknowledgements in the press. For some, that would feel like hiding. For Maren, it was control. She was building something separate, her own consulting portfolio, her own client base, her own name. Clay's strategy group was still in its infancy, but her work was gaining attention in smaller circles. Siren gave her space to build it, never asked to fund anything, never inserted himself into her business world. At night, he cooked. She drafted pitches. They shared a couch and argued over documentaries. They didn't perform. They didn't curate. They just were, and it worked until it didn't. Siren's mother was not a woman who needed evidence. She read tone, posture, and room temperature faster than most people read email. The first time she met Maren was at a board dinner in Midtown. Maren wasn't invited, but Siren brought her anyway. "I thought this was family only," Marcella said as she air-kissed another investor's wife. "She's my family," Siren answered quietly. Marcella turned. She gave Maren a 1-second scan from heels to bun. Maren said nothing. Marcella raised a glass in a small nod. "You're smart, I can tell." The conversation ended there. But Maren didn't miss the note in Marcella's voice. It wasn't a compliment. It was a warning. 2 weeks after that dinner, Siren came home late. Tired, distracted, jacket still on. Maren was on the balcony, sketching out operational flows for a new boutique firm's warehouse pivot. He kissed the side of her head. "You okay?" she asked, without turning. "Yeah," he said, pulling off his tie. Boards split on the India expansion. She waited. He didn't say more. Later that night, she asked what Marcella said to him in the private board session. He looked away. "She's concerned about conflict of interest." Maren folded her arms. "I'm not on payroll. She knows." Silence. "I haven't told her we're married," Siren added. That silence? It wasn't neutral anymore. It was sharp. Maren stood, walked to the kitchen, poured water, and returned to her chair. She said nothing. He didn't press. They didn't speak the rest of the night. Maren never planned motherhood. Not then. She had 12 client contracts signed, 4 in progress, and 2 on hold pending restructuring approvals. She had a growing team, new software, and a rapidly expanding roster in the aerospace supply sector. But life didn't care about timelines. She found out one Monday morning in the least dramatic way possible, a positive test kit sitting between a briefing file and her laptop charger. She stared at it, blinking. Then she sat down, opened her tablet, and kept working. Later that night, Siren brought home sushi. She looked at the plate of spicy tuna rolls and almost gagged. That was her confirmation. She still didn't say anything. Not that night, not the next, not the next week. She was waiting for him to come to her first, to ask, to claim, to lead. But he didn't, and her silence grew. It came in like smoke, quiet, slipping through their cracks. Marcella called Maren directly. No assistant, no email, just a voice. Maren, Mrs. Holt, brunch. This weekend, Manhattan penthouse. I'll have the tea ready. Maren blinked. Why? Marcella's voice didn't flinch. Because it's time we handled this the proper way. She didn't ask what this meant. She already knew. Siren was away that weekend on a supply chain trip to Seoul. He didn't know the meeting was happening. Maren didn't tell him. She arrived in a grey wrap dress, hair clean, face bare, shoes simple, no jewelry except her small silver band, the one no one ever asked about. Marcella was already seated in the sunroom, pouring jasmine tea into antique white porcelain. Would you like sugar? She asked. No, Maren replied, sitting down. Marcella leaned back. I respect women like you. Maren raised an eyebrow. You come with logic, calm, discretion. I never worried about you embarrassing this family. Glad to hear it, Maren said, her voice even. Marcella nodded once. That's why I'm giving you the offer directly. Maren's hands remained still in her lap. You're pregnant, yes? No reaction. Marcella slid a plain white envelope across the table. 7 figures, untaxed. No conditions, except that you leave quietly. No drama, no press. Maren didn't look at the envelope, not right away. When she did, her face didn't change. Does he know about this? She asked. He doesn't need to. Does he know I'm pregnant? Would it change anything? Maren's throat tightened, not from pain but realization. She closed the envelope, picked it up, and stood. Enjoy your tea, Mrs. Holt. Marcella smiled faintly. Enjoy your freedom. Maren didn't pack in anger. She packed with method. 2 suitcases, 1 laptop, a hard drive, a folder of signed consulting contracts, a single photo of her and Siren on a bench in Milan before anyone knew they were together. She left no note, no goodbye, only her silver ring placed face down on his home desk next to a yellow legal pad with the words Joint Expansion Plan scribbled across the top. She left the keys under the coffee pot. She left the city before sunrise. She chose Atlanta for no emotional reason. It wasn't New York. It wasn't LA. It wasn't DC. It was clean, quiet, and offered a clear runway to rebuild without baggage. She rented a small 2-bedroom apartment near the Beltline, registered Clay Strategy Group the same day she confirmed her pregnancy at a local clinic. She didn't tell anyone the father's name. She never mentioned the word divorce. She bought a second phone, switched to paperless everything, and rebuilt her calendar by trimester. Client meetings in the morning, naps at lunch, research after dinner, prenatal appointments between contracts. She cried once, not when she left, but during month 5, when the doctor showed her Isla's heartbeat on the monitor. It was strong and steady, just like her. Maren didn't fantasize about revenge. She didn't follow Siren's career. She didn't read press releases. She didn't check board rosters. What fueled her wasn't anger. It was clarity. He didn't choose her when it mattered, so she would never need him again. And when Isla was born, a full head of dark curls, a loud cry, and the same frown her father wore in strategy. Meetings. Maren held her against her chest and whispered, You don't need anyone's name to have value. The apartment was colder without her. Siren didn't notice at first. He came home late that evening, just past midnight, shoulders stiff, jaw set, eyes glazed over from hours of numbers and board noise. He loosened his tie with one hand and dropped his briefcase by the door. No lights were on. The usual lamp by the bookshelf, the soft hallway scent of Marin's lavender spray, gone. He didn't panic. Marin often worked late. Sometimes she took midnight client calls from Europe in the den, balancing deals with one ear while sketching expansion models with the other. He walked into the kitchen, poured water, then noticed the silence. Not the usual kind, the kind that had edges, like something had been folded and removed. He walked into the office. Her silver ring sat there, face down beside his legal pad. Her handwriting still lingered on a sticky note. We need to revisit your southern vendor timelines. Too loose. He didn't sit down. He stared at that ring for 3 minutes straight. Then another 10. He checked his phone. No missed calls. No messages. No clue. He walked to the bedroom. Her closet was empty. Her shoes gone. The perfume bottle still on the dresser. He leaned his head against the doorframe, breathing slow, deep, trying to think like she would. Marin didn't run. She calculated. This was her version of a signed letter. She didn't say goodbye because she'd already said enough. He just hadn't listened. He sat on the edge of the bed that night, still wearing his dress shirt, still replaying every moment, every silence, every missed signal. She didn't leave in anger. She left in strategy, and he never saw it coming. Across the city, Marcella Holt poured herself a glass of red wine and looked out over the skyline from her penthouse window. The air was crisp, satisfying. The envelope was no longer in her drawer. The girl was gone. The problem handled. Legacy would remain intact, she thought. The following weeks were a blur for Siren. Meetings, numbers, analysts whispering about leadership shifts and fiscal restructuring. But something in him felt displaced, like he'd walked out of alignment without realizing. The board noticed it. His presentations were still precise, his numbers exact, but the energy had shifted. His responses were short. His eye contact faded quicker. You've lost your edge, one partner muttered during a Friday morning debrief. Siren looked up slowly. I lost something more than that. He didn't elaborate. He just returned to his files and kept working. He stopped going home early, stopped playing the piano, stopped trusting silence, because now it reminded him of her. Marin, meanwhile, was rebuilding in silence. She kept her routine tight. Wake at 5, light stretches, prenatal vitamins, soft music, inbox clearing. Isla moved more now, a gentle kick at 7 each morning like clockwork. She moved her workspace to the living room for better light, upgraded her laptop, streamlined her consulting model. She took client calls with sharp calm. No fluff, no charm, just results. The world didn't need to know her story. Her bank did. Clay Strategy Group closed its third major contract within 5 months of her arrival in Atlanta. One with a biomedical firm, another with a drone logistics company, and the third with a failing warehouse startup that turned profitable 6 months after implementing her changes. She hired her first assistant, then her second. She didn't say no to more work. She didn't slow down. Only Ela made her pause. Each night, she'd place her hand on her belly, feel the rolls, the kicks, the movements. A little life inside her, unannounced, unclaimed, fully hers. She bought a crib second-hand and painted it herself. No one came to visit. She didn't tell old friends. Her silence wasn't shame. It was freedom. No one could twist her story if no one had it. 3 states away, Siren started checking flight logs. He had her calendar password once, but it was long changed. He emailed her twice. Both bounced. He searched her name. No results. Not under Marin Holt. Not under Marin Clay. He thought about hiring someone. He didn't. He respected her too much for that. But he also blamed himself too much to let it go. He started visiting the old cafe they used to meet at for Saturday mornings. The server asked where she was. He didn't answer. He left double the tip every time. 9 months passed like fog. Then came a moment Siren didn't expect. A client from Atlanta brought up a new name in a meeting. Clay Strategy Group, the man said. They flipped our warehouse ops in 4 months flat. Siren blinked. Clay? Yeah. Female-led. Smart as hell. Quiet. No press, no media. Just results. Siren's chest tightened. He asked for the contact quietly. Later that night, he typed it in slowly. An address, a number, no photo. He didn't call. He saved it and stared at it for 15 minutes. Then he locked his phone and didn't open it again until morning. He wasn't ready. Not yet. She had a dimple on one cheek and stubborn eyes. She hated sleep but loved books. Maren took her for walks every Saturday, circling the park while thinking through new operations models. Isla laughed when squirrels ran by. Maren smiled when Isla reached for her finger. She didn't need more. Not then. Not from anyone. Especially not from a man who hadn't chosen her when it mattered. That summer, Maren received a quiet award. Private, unpublished, internal nomination from a group of aerospace engineers who praised her efficiency and discretion. She turned it down. She didn't need praise. She needed progress. And she was getting it, without anyone else's permission. By the time Isla was 2, Maren had built a 6-figure consulting model, with rotating high-retainer clients and a waiting list 3 months long. She still didn't wear her ring. But she did keep the photo from Milan in a closed folder in the back of her desk drawer, not because she missed Siren, but because she once loved him, and that wasn't something she had to erase to move on. Across the country, Siren sat in his office watching a strategic presentation that felt flat. He asked the team, "Who built the plan?" "Marketing firm out of Boston," someone replied. "They used a template model." Siren shook his head. Clay Strategy would have torn this apart in 5 minutes. He didn't realize he'd said it out loud. The room froze. Someone asked, "Clay Strategy?" Siren nodded. "You'll know the name soon enough." And in that moment, he wasn't speaking like a CEO. He was speaking like a man who had once shared a home with a woman the world would soon need more than they realized. He stood, grabbed his jacket, and walked out of the room. He had a decision to make, not for the board, for himself. The boardroom at Holt Group's Manhattan headquarters had seen billion-dollar negotiations, power, reshuffles, and executive exits, but nothing prepared it for what happened that morning. The Southport division was bleeding. A 6-month decline in logistics timing, 2 major vendor disputes, and the quiet loss of a defense contract meant the group was now under internal review. Marcella Holt sat at the far end of the table, calm as always. Her red nails tapped softly on the glass surface. No panic in her eyes, just calculation. "We need a reset," one board member said. "We need an outsider," another added. Siren leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice steady. "We don't need flash. We need results." Marcella glanced at her son. "I have a name," she said. The room paused. She handed a slim file to the board secretary. Clay Strategy Group, Atlanta-based, quiet, efficient, discreet. Siren felt his chest tighten. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't blink. The chairman opened the file. "They turned around a warehouse operation for Zeno Aero in 5 weeks. I've seen this. They keep their names off public reports," Marcella said. "But insiders talk. Who's the lead?" Marcella didn't hesitate. Maren Clay. Siren stared at her. She didn't look back. Later that day, his assistant walked in with a note. She said she won't take the project unless she reports directly to the CEO. Siren read the words twice. He turned the note over. Blank. No signature. Just the terms. He nodded once. "Set it up." The first time he saw her again, he didn't breathe. She walked into the boardroom in a black blazer and high-waist slacks, a slate-colored blouse, hair cleanly tied back. No makeup, no jewelry, just presence. No one in the room knew their history. No one noticed his hands under the table curling into fists to keep them steady. "Maren Clay," the chairman greeted. "Thank you for having me," she replied. She didn't glance at Siren, not once. She opened her folder and began. Southport's collapse isn't external. It's not even logistical, it's cultural. Too many middle managers, no clear authority, high vendor churn. Here's a 6-month turnaround strategy. She passed out packets. She outlined numbers, structure, shift sequencing, and vendor realignment in 10 minutes. Silence followed. Then applause. Even the skeptical board members nodded. Marcella sat still. Siren's throat burned, but he didn't speak. Maren didn't wait for praise. She gathered her files. The chairman said, "We'd like you on as an interim lead consultant, possibly longer. I'll stay for 6 months. On my terms, which are..." She turned to Siren. "Finally, I report only to the CEO. No layers, no redirects." Siren met her eyes. "Fine." No expression crossed her face. "Then we have a deal." She walked out. He didn't follow. He didn't sleep that night. He thought of her voice, the way she commanded the room without raising it, the way her jaw clenched when she glanced at the quarterly breakdown, the way she didn't flinch at his presence or Marcella's. He thought of Isla, the daughter he hadn't seen, the one he only knew through a single photograph. He still kept that image in a drawer in his home office. Isla, grinning, holding a plush globe, curly hair wild and untamed. He wondered what her voice sounded like. He wondered if she liked books, or tea, or puzzles, like he did when he was little. He didn't reach out. Not yet. 3 days passed. Maren worked from a private room on the 48th floor. She barely left it. Only attended meetings she requested. Never once dropped personal notes, hints, or soft memories. She was all business. He respected it, but it hurt. On the 4th day, they crossed paths in the hallway, a late exit from a vendor meeting. "Maren," she stopped. He stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her tone stayed flat. "Because you weren't ready to choose me." "I would have," he said quietly. She tilted her head. "But you didn't." He looked down, then up. "Do I have a daughter?" She didn't answer right away. She opened her phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward him. The same photo, but this time he saw the name on the birthday cake in the background, hand frosted. Isla. His breath caught. His eyes welled. He reached for the screen like it might disappear. "She's 3, Maren said, soft but unshaken. He tried to speak. Nothing came. She pulled the phone back, locked it, and turned. He didn't follow her. He stood in the hallway until the lights dimmed. He didn't show up at work the next morning, but he wasn't absent. He was in the park, on the south end, near the old fountain Isla stood in front of in that photo. He waited. He didn't know what for. Maybe a chance, maybe forgiveness, maybe nothing. But he waited, because for once, he was the one hoping to be chosen. Comment: she walked out strong, if you believe quiet exits leave the loudest echoes. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more powerful narratives, where love, legacy, and quiet justice collide. Like and share if you've ever watched someone rebuild from nothing and come back stronger than ever. Siren sat in his office with the lights off. The skyline glowed beyond the glass behind him, casting long shapes on the marble floor. But he didn't notice. His phone was open. The photo of Isla still on the screen. Her smile wasn't perfect. One eye squinted more than the other. The frosting on her cheek was smeared. She looked like a mess. She looked like life. She looked like the version of him he never thought he'd see. He locked the phone, then unlocked it again. He wasn't sure what he was doing. Every instinct in his body told him to be still. Don't cross lines. Don't mix business and personal. Don't make it about guilt. But this wasn't about guilt. This was about a girl with curly hair who didn't know his name, and a woman who had once trusted him to protect her. He failed both. Now he had to figure out if either of them would let him show up again. Maren didn't expect to feel anything. She told herself the hallway moment wouldn't hit hard. But that night, as she folded Isla's little dresses into the laundry basket, she caught herself staring. She saw it in Isla's cheekbones, the sharp lines, the tilt of her chin, the way she hummed when she was focused, just like her father used to. She closed her eyes, then opened them. This wasn't about Siren, not anymore. She'd built a life without him. She paid for their home. She took Isla to preschool. She signed field trip forms. She read bedtime stories with voices and made pancakes that stuck to the pan. She did it alone, but she remembered the way his face broke when he saw Isla's picture. Not shocked, not angry, just broken. She remembered, but she didn't soften. Not yet. The next morning, Siren requested a transfer of all Southport documents to Maren's private workroom. She received the notice in her inbox at 7:02 a.m. At 7:04, he was outside her office door. He knocked once. She didn't look up from her screen. "You've got 2 minutes," she said flatly. "I want to be in her life." She didn't blink. "You missed the window." "I know. I didn't hide her to punish you." "I know that too." Maren typed something, hit send, and finally raised her head. "So why now?" Siren stepped in fully and shut the door behind him. "Because I finally understand what I gave up. And you think that earns you access?" He shook his head. "No, I don't think I've earned anything, but I'd like the chance to try." She leaned back, arms crossed. "You knew who your mother was. You knew what her silence meant. I didn't think she'd go that far. She didn't lie to me, Siren. She made an offer. You know what that means?" He swallowed. "It means she thought I wouldn't fight for you." And she was right. They stared at each other. No raised voices, no anger. Just truth laid bare. Maren finally exhaled. "She asks about her father, you know." His throat tightened. "What do you say?" "I tell her he lives in another city, that he's busy, that maybe someday he'll show up." He stepped forward. "I'm here, now." "She doesn't need your guilt," she said calmly. "She doesn't have it. She has my time. If you'll let me." A long silence. Maren didn't respond, not with words, but she didn't tell him to leave. And that was the first yes. Isla was waiting outside her preschool later that week, holding her teacher's hand, when a tall man in a grey coat stood beside Maren. She looked up at him, unsure. "Isla," Maren said softly. "This is Siren." "Hi," he said quietly, kneeling. "I've heard a lot about you." Isla didn't answer, but she didn't pull back when he offered a fist bump. Small steps. That's how it would start. Later that evening, Maren watched them through the glass door at the park. Siren helped her climb a low rock, held her hand as she jumped down, let her chase ducks, laughed when she told him to run faster. No cameras, no assistants, no statement to the press. Just a man and his daughter, and a woman who was still learning how to trust that this time, maybe, he wouldn't let go again. Back at Holt Group, whispers began. Board members talked quietly in elevators. Assistants swapped glances in the hallways. Why was Miss Clay still here? Why were her meetings extended? Why did the CEO personally walk her to the car one evening? Marcella noticed, and for the first time in years, her grip on the company felt unstable. She didn't confront Siren. She didn't challenge Maren, not yet. But she was watching, because Marcella Holt didn't lose gracefully. That weekend, Maren opened a letter on her doorstep. No name, no signature, just 4 typed words. "This won't last. Walk." She folded the note in half, dropped it in the trash, and locked her door. But something in her gut shifted, because this wasn't just business anymore. And someone wanted her gone again. Only this time, she wasn't walking out. Siren showed up at Maren's door the next morning with a paper bag of coffee, a small box of Ila's favorite cookies, and a folder of revised vendor contracts. She opened the door slowly, still in her robe, her hair uncombed. Isla, on her hip with a banana in one hand and crayon marks on her cheek. "You're early," Maren said, brows raised. "I wanted to beat the traffic," he said, but his eyes were on Isla. Isla blinked. "Cookies." Maren stepped aside without answering. Siren entered carefully, like he wasn't sure the floor wouldn't kick him out. He knelt to Isla's level. "You like sprinkles?" She nodded slowly, suspiciously. He opened the box, offered one. She took it, just one. But it was a start. Maren watched from the kitchen as Siren gently asked Isla about her drawings. The books she liked, what she wanted to be when she grew up. "An astronaut," she said, "and a cake maker." Siren nodded. "Those go together better than people think." She giggled. Maren caught her breath. She'd seen a lot of people try to perform around Isla. Co-workers, friends, even neighbors, who tried to impress the little girl with silly voices and over-the-top smiles. Siren didn't do that. He was just present. And for once, it wasn't about him being charming. It was about him being still. They ate breakfast together, quietly. Isla colored on the floor. Siren read documents at the table. Maren made toast. No one asked questions about yesterday, or 3 years ago, or what this was. It just was. Later that day, back at Holt Group, Maren stepped into her private strategy room. Another note waited on her chair. Same font. Same message. "This won't last. Walk." This time, it came with a twist. A printed screenshot of her consulting invoice report, flagged with internal notes. Someone inside the company was tracking her. She didn't rattle. She scanned the document, noted the initials, noted the timing, noted the security clearance needed to access the info. She placed the printout in a red folder, locked it in her briefcase, and requested a private board audit of document access logs. No threats, no shouting, just precision. The way she operated. Siren noticed the shift in her by mid-week. "You're tense," he said over a shared elevator ride. "I'm focused," she replied. He watched her. She didn't explain. He didn't press. But that night, after Isla was asleep, she called him. "I received 2 notes. He went quiet. Someone wants me gone." Again. His voice sharpened. "What did they say?" "Doesn't matter. I've already launched an audit. Do you think it's—" "Yes," she cut in. "And it's not just about me. It's about the fact that I walked away and didn't break." He was silent. Then, "Let me handle it." "No," she said firmly. "I'm not the same woman who left 3 years ago." She paused. "I'm not walking away this time." Marcella sat in her private gallery, sipping something expensive and dark, flipping through the audit report she'd intercepted before it reached the board. Maren's name glared back at her. 3 new contracts secured, 2 departments restructured, and the whisper that Maren might be offered a permanent executive seat. Marcella closed the file. Not with rage, with certainty. She hadn't bought Maren off the first time to see her seated beside her son in power now. This had to end before the board voted, before the press picked it up, before Siren made another irreversible decision. The following Monday, Maren entered the boardroom for a quarterly update. Everyone was seated. Siren was at the head. She walked in wearing deep blue, not black, no blazer, just elegance and clarity, her laptop in hand, her tone calm. Before she could begin, Marcella raised her hand. "I have a concern." Siren looked over. "Go ahead." Marcella slid a document forward. "I've received word from our internal systems that Miss Clay has accessed documents beyond the scope of her contractual role." Murmurs circled the table. Siren's jaw tensed. Maren remained still. Marcella continued, "I'd like to request a pause on her authority until a full review is conducted." The chairman turned to Maren. "Miss Clay." Maren opened her folder, pulled out a red-tabbed document. "This is a printout of 2 anonymous threats I received this week. Alongside them is a digital access report showing unauthorized activity into my billing structure. That report has already been submitted to the security oversight team, including timestamps and internal signatures." She slid it across the table. Calm, clean, undeniable. I did not overreach. I defended myself. Quietly, legally, Marcella shifted in her seat. Maren continued, "If you want to investigate me, do it, but you should also investigate where those threats originated. Because I've been here to fix your systems, not play your politics." Silence. Then Siren spoke. "She's not the threat here." He looked directly at Marcella. "You are." The room froze. Marcella's expression didn't change, but the war had begun. Outside the building that day, as rain tapped soft against the sidewalk, Maren stepped under her umbrella. Siren caught up behind her. "I meant what I said in there," he said. She didn't look back. "I know. Will you let me stand beside you this time?" She turned slightly. "You'll need to earn that." He nodded. "Then I'll show up. Every day. Until I do." She didn't smile. But she didn't walk away either. Isla sat cross-legged on the rug, turning the pages of a picture book, while humming something that sounded like a cartoon theme song. The late afternoon sun spilled across the room in slanted beams, catching dust in the air. Maren sat nearby, organizing files, her laptop open, a mild headache forming behind her eyes. She had 3 reports to complete, 2 meetings in the morning, and 1 child who refused to nap on Sundays. Siren knocked once before stepping inside. He was casual, no blazer, sleeves rolled, the top button undone. He carried a box of takeout in one hand and Isla's favorite juice in the other. "I come bearing peace," he said quietly. Isla looked up. "Food?" He held up the bag. "Yes, ma'am." She jumped up, ran straight to him, and grabbed the juice first. No hesitation anymore. No distance. Just routine. That part made Maren pause. A few weeks ago, Isla wouldn't even speak to him. Now she reached for his hand before reaching for hers. Siren noticed the hesitation in Maren's face. "I called ahead," he said softly. "Didn't want to intrude." "You're here now," she replied, standing up, adjusting her cardigan. He placed the food on the counter. "I won't stay long. I know you've got work." "Sit down," she said. "You brought rice. That earns you 20 minutes. They ate quietly, Isla in the middle, telling them about a squirrel that looked suspicious at the park. Siren laughed. Maren smiled. It was too normal, too soft. And Maren didn't trust softness that came without strings anymore. After Isla went down for her nap, Maren stayed in the kitchen, sipping tea, while Siren lingered by the counter. He watched her, then finally said, "I saw the press leak." She nodded. "So did I. They're framing it like an internal war. They're not wrong. I want to issue a joint statement." "No," she said immediately. "The moment we stand together publicly, I become a target again." Siren folded his arms. "They already know you're not leaving this time. They don't know how much you'll protect me," she countered. "And I'm not betting Isla's safety on theory." His eyes softened. "So, what do? We build quietly. We strengthen from the inside. And we stop giving them headlines." He nodded. "So, we're partners." In silence. "In strategy," she corrected. "This isn't about us. It could be again," he said, voice low. She didn't respond. Because, maybe, it could, but not now. Back at Holt Group, Marcella was preparing her next move. The audit reports cleared Maren, but the damage was already in the bloodstream. Whispers in the press, doubts within the board. Investors asking questions about the consultant with too much control. Marcella didn't want to destroy Maren directly anymore. She wanted to weaken her influence, slowly, surgically. And the best way to do that was to attack what made her indispensable, her results. Marcella met privately with 2 mid-tier executives and quietly redirected a handful of reports before they could reach Maren. Delays, miscommunications, vendor instructions rerouted. It was a slow sabotage, the kind that made performance look flawed, the kind that wouldn't be traced until it was too late. Maren noticed first when a shipment arrived at the wrong warehouse. She called the logistics head herself. "We were told to reroute," the man explained. "By who?" He hesitated. "Don't worry," she said. "Just send me the written request." He did. The name on the approval? One of Marcella's men. She didn't yell. She didn't even raise a flag. She printed the email, placed it in a folder, and labeled it Obstruction Phase 1. Then she requested a shadow team, anonymous analysts hired externally, to monitor all communications tagged with her name across Holt Group's internal system. She didn't play defense, she played for keeps. Meanwhile, Siren watched the board from his end. They were shifting, not all at once, but there was unease. Half respected Marin's results, half feared them. The split was dangerous, and Marcella knew it. So he did the one thing Marin told him not to do. He stood at the next investor roundtable and said, "Clay strategy is not just consulting, it's correction. Without her, we'd be bleeding millions. If that threatens anyone, maybe it's because they've gotten comfortable with inefficiency." The room went still. It was a shot, and it landed. Marin saw the video clip the next morning. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She closed the laptop, stood up, and got ready for her morning calls. Later that afternoon, she walked into Siren's office and shut the door. "No more public speeches," she said. "You saw it. You went off script. They needed to hear it. I don't care what they needed. I care what it exposed." He stepped toward her. "You're not hiding anymore." "I'm not hiding," she snapped. "I'm surviving." He softened. "You're doing more than that." She looked away, then said quietly, "If this goes down, they'll take you with me." He stepped closer. "Then I'll go down standing next to the one woman who's kept this company afloat." She didn't argue, but she didn't answer, because this was getting too close again, and closeness could destroy everything. Marcella's next move wasn't loud, it was legal. She arranged a private clause review with Holt Group's general counsel, focusing on consultant agreements and conflict of interest disclosures. She wasn't asking to remove Marin directly. That would spark attention. Instead, she was positioning a quiet trap, a policy update that would make Marin's continued role appear non-compliant on paper. Conflict of interest, personal entanglement, exerting influence on executive decision-making, the very things she had once tried to bribe Marin to avoid. Now she wanted them used against her. It was clean, internal, bureaucratic, and Marcella knew the board wouldn't question legal protocol the same way they might question spite. The update was slipped into a routine policy proposal packet. Most executives wouldn't read past page 6. She counted on that. At midnight, she scanned the packet. On page 19, she found it. A new clause. All strategic consultants with past or present personal ties to executive leadership must submit formal disclosures and relinquish voting influence in operational changes until full review. She didn't flinch. She highlighted the clause, then highlighted the name at the bottom, Marcella Holt, not even hidden. She closed the file, then called her lawyer. "Draft a response, sharp, clean, with case law references." He whistled on the other end. "You're going for the throat?" "No, I'm showing them I still have teeth." The next day, Marin stood in front of the board with a calm voice and a packet of her own. "I received this revised clause late last night. Some of you may not have read it." The chairman looked confused. "Which clause?" She turned to page 19. "This one. It would force me to disclose private matters that have no legal bearing on my contract. It would suspend my operational input for actions that are already documented, approved, and executed under board authority." Marcella shifted slightly in her chair. Marin continued, "This is not a compliance issue, it's a distraction, and a dangerous one." She passed out her counter packet. Enclosed is a preemptive compliance letter with full transparency, certified independently, and a legal breakdown of how this clause opens Holt Group to gender bias lawsuits, retaliation suits, and damages based on personal targeting. No one spoke, not even Siren. Marin looked at each of them. "Decide what's more costly, my silence or my lawyer." She turned and walked out. That evening, she stood outside Isla's preschool, holding her daughter's hand when Siren arrived. He looked tired. She didn't ask why. He looked at Isla and said, "I found a place." Marin blinked. "A place? For visits, somewhere quiet, fenced, nature. I thought maybe she'd like her own space with me. Isla tugged on her sleeve. Can he come with us today? Maren hesitated, then nodded. Yes, he can. Siren exhaled once, not relief but release. They walked home together. Quiet steps, a little girl skipping between them. Later, after dinner, Maren leaned against the doorframe while Siren helped Isla brush her teeth. He sang the wrong words to the song. Isla corrected him. He laughed. So did Maren. Not loudly, but enough. Marcella sat across from her attorney the next morning, reading the board's email update. The clause had been suspended indefinitely pending review of legal exposure. Her trap had failed. Maren wasn't just surviving. She was outmaneuvering her. And it was starting to show. Maren didn't celebrate. She simply worked. Rebuilt 2 stalled initiatives. Closed a new international contract. Redirected a major vendor partnership. And updated her legal team with every new move Marcella made, without saying a word. Because she wasn't fighting to prove anything. She was fighting to stay. Not for Holt Group. For the space she had earned. The ground she built after being paid to disappear. Siren saw it too. Every morning she showed up early. Every report she signed. Every department she straightened without ego or drama. He watched her lead men who once doubted her. He watched her advise board members who once ignored her. And every night when she let him walk Isla to the car or read her a book on the couch, he knew. He hadn't just lost a wife. He lost a force. And he wasn't sure he deserved her anymore. One night, after putting Isla to bed, Maren stepped into the kitchen and found Siren there, no tie, sleeves rolled, pouring water like he lived there again. He looked at her, then down. I don't know what to call this anymore, he said softly. Us? She leaned against the counter, folding her arms. We're not us. Not like that. But you let me back in. I let you in for her. I know. He stepped closer. I'm not asking for what we had. I'm asking for a chance to build something real, something new, with honesty, with space, with time. She didn't move. She studied him, measured him. You left once, Siren. Even if you didn't walk, you still left. He nodded. And I regret it every day. You don't fix that with words. I'm not offering words. I'm offering consistency. She stared at him, then turned back toward the hallway. I'll believe it when Isla does, and that was enough. For now, the media took their first bite 2 weeks later. It started with a headline buried at the bottom of a finance newsletter. Rumors swirl around Holt Group's silent power shift. No names, no photos, just implications. But Maren knew how these things worked. Someone whispered. Someone leaked. Then someone got louder. By Friday, it was above the fold in a bigger outlet. Consultant CEO dynamic raising questions inside Holt Group. Marcella didn't respond publicly. She didn't need to. She'd already made the calls behind closed doors. Editorial favors, strategic leaks, words like nepotism, conflict and internal favoritism planted just, soft enough to avoid legal action, but sharp enough to rattle trust. Siren saw the headlines from his office. His phone lit up. Investors, board members, press. He ignored them all. Instead, he walked straight to Maren's workroom, knocked once, and entered. She looked up from a file. Don't say it, she said flatly. I'm not here to apologize. Good. That would be a waste of time. He stepped closer. I'm here to ask you something. She closed the file slowly. What? I want to release a joint statement. One that says you're not just a consultant, you're an architect of the turnaround. She stared at him. I thought you were done trying to defend me. I'm not defending you, he said. I'm naming you. Out loud. In the space they keep trying to erase you from. Silence stretched. She folded her arms. And when they say you're compromised, then let them say it. I'd rather be seen as compromised standing beside you than be seen as spineless standing behind them. Her lips parted slightly. Not a smile, but something cracked. Then she looked down. I'll write the statement. You'll approve it. Done. And I want veto power over every word. Of course, she looked at him fully. I'm not fragile, Siren, but I'm tired of being tested like I'm disposable. I know, he said softly. That's why this time we name what we're building. The statement went live on Monday. Short, direct, co-signed. It acknowledged Maren Clay as the lead architect of the Southport recovery. It listed statistics, timeframes, results, and it ended with one sharp line. We move forward, not as a company with secrets, but as one finally giving credit where it's due. The press twisted it. Some praised it. Some questioned it. Some tore it apart. But no one ignored it. And no one questioned Maren's presence again, at least not out loud. The board remained quiet, except for Marcella. She sent Siren a single message. You're weakening your leadership optics. You'll regret it. He replied with 3 words. You already do. Meanwhile, Maren's legal team finalized an internal report on the sabotage attempts, mislabeled documents, redirected communications, flagged vendor reroutes. The report didn't accuse anyone directly. It simply listed the facts and sent a clear message. I know what you tried. I'm still here. Marcella received a blind copy. She didn't respond. But 2 of her allies on the board stepped down quietly within 10 days. One evening, Maren picked Isla up from school late. The teacher said, she talks about her dad all the time now. It's sweet. Maren blinked. She says he's teaching her how to run a company. She says they're going to start a bakery on the moon. Maren laughed, softly but full. At home, she found Isla asleep on the couch, cookie crumbs on her chin. One of Siren's ties wrapped like a sash across her shoulders. Siren was on the floor beside her, head leaned back against the wall, eyes closed. He looked peaceful, like a man who was finally still. She didn't wake him. She didn't take a photo. She just stood there and memorized it. At Holt Group, the Southport division posted its best numbers in 5 years. Maren didn't host a press conference. She didn't speak to the media. She submitted her final report, copied the chairman, and quietly submitted her invoice. Siren found her packing her things that evening. You're leaving? He asked. She nodded. My contract's done. He hesitated. You could stay. She looked up. Not as a consultant, he added. As an executive partner. Seat on the board. No strings. Your name on the glass. She didn't respond right away. He stepped closer. I don't want to lose you again. You don't own me, Siren, she said. Even if you've changed, I don't want to own you. I want to stand beside you permanently. She studied him. Her voice was quiet. Then say that again. In front of the board. The boardroom was full. All 12 seats taken. Cameras off. Voices muted. This wasn't a standard meeting. It wasn't about quarterly margins or logistics reports. This was personal, and everyone in the room knew it. Siren sat at the head of the table, calm, steady, in his charcoal suit. The kind of posture that usually signaled dominance, but not today. Today, it was something else. He wasn't here to assert control. He was here to give space. Maren stood beside him. Not behind. Beside. No presentation, no slides. Just a folder in her hands and a quiet that made the entire room uncomfortable. Marcella looked on, her eyes unreadable. She'd been briefed, but not by Siren, not by Maren, by the others who'd felt the shift and realized she was no longer the center of gravity. Siren looked around once, then spoke. I asked you all here for one reason, he said, to put an end to the ambiguity. He nodded to Maren. She opened her folder and passed each member a copy of her finalized Southport recovery breakdown, a clean, organized document with every success metric detailed. Then Siren continued. 3 years ago, I failed to stand beside someone who helped save this company. I let silence speak for me. I let politics override loyalty. That won't happen again. He turned to Maren. She's not just a strategist. She's not just the consultant who fixed Southport. She's the reason Holt Group isn't in acquisition talks right now. He looked around the room again. "And I'm requesting board approval to offer her a permanent executive partner seat." Someone cleared their throat. "Does this mean you're—" "It means I'm acknowledging power where it belongs," Siren cut in. Another voice asked, "Won't this create press complications?" Marin stepped forward. "I didn't ask for this seat. I didn't come back to be elevated. I came to do a job. But if this board wants continued results, not noise, you know where I stand." Silence. Then the chairman nodded. "I'll call the vote." Marcella didn't speak. She didn't vote. But the tally passed, 9-2. Marin was in. After the meeting, Siren walked her to the elevator. He didn't speak until the doors closed. "I meant every word," he said. "I know. You still don't trust this." "I don't trust comfort," she corrected. "It comes right before the storm." He nodded slowly. "You can still walk away, you know. Even now." She shook her head. "I'm not the one who walks anymore." The doors opened. She stepped out. He watched her go, and for the first time felt peace in her leaving. Because she wasn't running. That evening, Marcella poured a drink she didn't sip. She stared out the window, watched the lights blink across the skyline. She had always controlled the narrative, always chosen who entered the circle and who didn't. And now, someone had stepped in through the front door, not by charm, but by proof, and no one pushed her out. She'd been replaced quietly, without a fight, without a scream, by a woman who never raised her voice. Marcella didn't make another call that night. She just sat in her silence, alone. At home, Isla danced around the living room in oversized socks. Siren sat on the floor, watching her spin. Marin folded laundry nearby, her eyes soft but alert. "Did you really call a whole board meeting just to tell them about me?" Isla asked suddenly, her vocabulary always several years ahead of her age. Siren laughed. "Not quite, but kind of." Marin smiled. "You're hard to ignore, you know." Isla twirled again. "That's what Miss Casey says at school." Siren reached for her hand mid-spin. "Then let's give them something to watch." Isla squealed. "Dance battle?" "Absolutely." Marin didn't join in. She stood back, watched, listened. Because, for the first time in years, no one was walking away. They were building something. Slowly, quietly, together. Isla's laugh echoed through the trees as Siren lifted her higher toward the branches. Her legs dangled mid-air, socks mismatched, curls bouncing as she giggled. "You almost touched it," he said, spinning her gently before setting her down on the soft grass near the trail. Marin stood a few feet back, arms crossed, sunglasses low on her nose, watching them. This was the place Siren had found, just outside the city, a small, gated private park rarely used, with clean trails, benches under tall trees, and no cameras. It was quiet, peaceful, and protected. Just like he promised. "You like it?" he asked as Isla skipped ahead. "It's nice," Marin said. "No photographers?" "None." "No interns planted to report back?" He smiled slightly. "You think I'm that careless now?" She shrugged. "I think you learned the hard way." He didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small key on a simple silver chain. "This is for the small cabin at the back," he said. "It's not for me. It's for her. In case she ever wants space that doesn't feel borrowed." Marin didn't take it at first. She looked at it, then at him. "You're giving her a key to a place I haven't even seen. You get final say. But she already calls it hers." Marin took the key, held it, pocketed it. The next few weeks passed without incident. No press, no memos, no whispers. Marin continued her work silently, attending only the meetings that required her presence, declining every invitation to comment on the company's rising success in public forums. She didn't care about credit. She cared about the board staying quiet and the numbers staying clean. Siren remained consistent, present for Isla, available but not intrusive with Marin, careful not to cross any lines. They had found a rhythm. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't a reset. It was a slow, structured peace. And for a woman like Maren, that meant more than flowers or grand speeches. Until the email came, not from Marcella, not from legal, from a private equity firm with a direct stake in Holt Group. Subject line: proposal for executive realignment discussion. Maren read the body twice. It was subtle, polite, and veiled in corporate language. But it said everything clearly. Her name had come up for an official C-suite position, not just a board seat, a permanent public role as executive director of strategic growth. And they wanted a meeting with her, alone. No Siren, no Marcella. She didn't reply, not immediately. She closed the laptop and stepped outside with a glass of water. The wind was light, the sky grey. She knew what this meant: recognition, exposure, risk. And if she took the seat, it would mean losing her invisibility. Maren had spent years building power in silence. Now they wanted her in the spotlight. She told Siren that evening, after Isla went to bed. He sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped. "And what do you want to do?" "I don't know," she admitted. "I've never wanted a title. I wanted results, autonomy, control over my space." "You already have that." "Not if I say yes." Siren nodded slowly. "You're afraid it changes the dynamic." "I'm afraid it gives them another way in." He leaned forward. "Then don't let it." Maren looked at him. "You make it sound simple. It's not. But the hardest part of power is owning it without asking for permission." She exhaled. "You used to say that before you became CEO. I stopped saying it when I forgot what it meant." She looked away, then back. "And now, I'm ready to live by it again." That night, she didn't sleep. She sat at the window, watching the city, the lights, the stillness. And she thought of everything that got her here. The check Marcella gave her, the baby she raised alone, the office she rebuilt, the room she walked into where he didn't flinch when she took her place at the table. And she realized something. She wasn't scared of power. She was scared of being seen holding it. Because the moment you're seen, you become a target. But maybe that was the point. The next morning, she opened the laptop, typed a single sentence: "Let's meet." Then she hit send. She didn't flinch, didn't look back, didn't ask for permission, because this time she was done waiting. The office they chose for the meeting was glass-walled and high above the city, the kind of place where conversations stayed polished, even when the stakes were cutthroat. Maren arrived 10 minutes early, sat alone at the long table, and reviewed her own notes before the door opened. 3 partners from the private equity firm entered, all sharp suits and neutral smiles. One offered a handshake. She accepted it. Another poured water. No small talk, just respect. "We appreciate you coming," the lead partner said. "We've observed your impact on Holt Group over the past 18 months. It's not just impressive, it's stabilizing. And our board has voted to formally propose you as Executive Director of Strategic Growth." Maren didn't blink. They continued. "This would come with full equity privileges, voting power, long-term security. We'd protect your lane. You'd report directly to the CEO, but maintain autonomous oversight." She nodded slowly. "And the reason you want it now?" He didn't flinch. "Because we're betting on brains, not bloodlines. And your results speak louder than anyone's last name." The second partner added, "Siren's support is clear, but this isn't about him. It's about Holt Group's next 10 years. Maren folded her hands. "I'm not interested in becoming a symbol." "You already are," the woman across from her said softly. "We're just giving the title to match." Silence hung in the air. Then Maren said, "I'll consider it. My answer won't be slow, but it will be mine." The lead nodded. "That's all we ask." They stood. No handshakes this time, no performance, just clarity. She didn't call Siren right away. Instead, she drove, not to the office, not to the house, to the gated trail park where he'd given Isla the key. The little cabin stood quiet under the trees. Still, safe. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and stood in the silence. Isla's drawing was still taped to the fridge, a crude spaceship with stick figures and the words, Mommy, me, Papa. Maren sat on the couch, her hand on her stomach. Not from stress, from instinct. Because her body had once grown life inside silence. Now she had to decide whether to grow power the same way. That evening, Siren met her outside the school. He could tell something had shifted. She didn't walk straight to him. She stood by the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. He walked to her slowly. You met them? She nodded. They offered it. They did. He paused. And they're offering something I never asked for, but something I've already earned. He nodded. That's how you know it's real. She looked up at him. You're okay with this? I'm not the gatekeeper anymore, Maren. I'm the one who failed to protect you the first time. I don't get a vote. She shook her head. You stood by me when it mattered. Finally, that counts. He stepped closer. So what will you say? She didn't answer. Not yet. The next morning, the Holt Group boardroom filled earlier than usual. People knew something was coming. Maren entered at 8:59 a.m. Sharp. No fanfare. Just presence. She took her seat, not at the side of the room, but at the front beside Siren. Marcella watched, lips pressed thin. The chairman called order. Before they began, Maren stood. I have something to share. The room hushed. She placed her folder on the table. I've received a formal offer to step into executive leadership under the title of Strategic Growth Director. I've reviewed the scope, the risks, the reward, and the responsibility. She paused. I'm accepting it. A beat of silence. Then Siren stood beside her. I endorse it. Fully, Maren added. And I do this not for exposure or optics or narrative shift. I do it because I've been holding this company's structure from the shadows. It's time to hold it in the light. No applause. No outbursts. Just acceptance. Because when someone walks in with that kind of clarity, you don't clap. You follow. Later that day, after the announcement went out, Maren returned home to find Isla building blocks on the floor. Siren was making tea. Isla looked up. Were you bossing people around again? Maren laughed. Something like that. Did you win? Maren crouched beside her. I didn't win, baby. I worked. I showed up. I didn't quit. Isla tilted her head. But you got the seat. Yes. Then you won. Maren looked at her daughter, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe it. The first day in her new office was quiet. No flowers, no welcome banners, no emails stuffed with hollow praise. Maren didn't want any of that. What she had was a key card, a clean desk, and a single line of text etched onto the glass outside her door. Maren Clay, Executive Director, Strategic Growth. She stood in front of it for a second before entering. The space was everything she'd asked for, simple, neutral, functional. Floor-to-ceiling windows, charcoal trim, a table for team meetings, and a smaller nook where Isla could sit when visiting after school. No excess, no flash, just authority, built-in quiet. Her first move wasn't to call a meeting. It was to remove herself from the daily press thread. Her second was to decline every media interview request that came in after the announcement. She wasn't here for headlines. She was here for structure. And now, no one could tell her to keep her voice low. Siren stepped into the office around noon with 2 coffees and a folded folder under his arm. You didn't answer my morning message, he said. I was reading, preparing, building. He handed her the coffee. You don't celebrate wins, do you? I correct momentum. That's your version of fun? Fun is when no one's trying to take my seat. He grinned. Isla said you wore your power shoes today. Maren smirked. She's observant. He leaned against the desk. She asked if she could come sit with you one day, after school. Maren paused, then nodded. Tell her to bring snacks. Marcella watched the announcement from her penthouse, the broadcast playing quietly in the background. She didn't react, didn't speak, didn't frown. She simply poured her drink and picked up her phone. Get me the list of departments she's overseeing. she said. Already done, her assistant replied. We've identified the weakest link in the vendor stream. Good, Marcella said. Now let's see how she handles sabotage when it comes from below, not above. The call ended. The ice in her glass cracked. Marcella Holt never surrendered twice. Meanwhile, Marin's first task as executive wasn't public-facing. It was buried inside an outdated vendor contract she'd flagged months ago, but the board had previously ignored. Now, she had the authority to rip it apart. She pulled the team into a strategy session by midweek. Siren watched from the back of the room as she walked the team through a full operational redesign, her voice steady, her confidence unshakable. No one interrupted her. No one questioned her. And when she finished, the room nodded in silent agreement. She didn't ask for consensus. She led with facts. Later that day, Isla ran down the hallway outside the executive wing, holding a paper crown she made in art class. Siren followed behind her, with 2 security guards trying to keep up. Marin stepped out of her office just in time to see Isla run directly into her arms. Guess what? What? I'm queen of the strategy room, Isla declared. Marin smiled. Then I guess we'll make you an official badge. Siren caught up, breathless. She escaped the snack room. Isla giggled. I'm faster than all of you. Marin looked at Siren. She takes after me. He smiled. No doubt. They walked back to the office, 1 little girl with paper crown glittering, and 2 adults, who knew that if anything ever tried to shake this new foundation, they'd hold it together. No matter what came. The first wave of problems hit Thursday morning. An internal memo flagged discrepancies in the freight audit reports from a southern distribution partner. Marin saw the numbers before the legal team did. They weren't just misaligned, they were manipulated. 3 line items duplicated, a routing fee inflated, a signature forged. She stared at the screen. Then she checked who approved the vendor renewal. Not her team. The override came from a legacy contact, someone approved years before she stepped into power. But someone still loyal to Marcella. Marin didn't flinch. She documented every anomaly. Then she called her assistant. Get me the original contract folder and audit access logs from the past 6 months. I want every digital touchpoint tracked. The tone in her voice wasn't angry. It was surgical, because she didn't raise alarms when someone came for her seat. She raised standards and let the system expose who couldn't meet them. Siren found her that afternoon at her desk, 6 files open, 1 pen tapping against the wood. They're moving again, he said softly. I know. Marcella? Who else? He closed the door behind him. You want me to handle it? No. Marin. She looked up. I don't need you to protect me. I need you to let me finish what I started. He nodded, then said quietly, What do you want me to do? She stood, walked to the cabinet, and handed him a document. Sign off on this, he read the title. Policy Revision on Vendor Independence and Full Audit Compliance. Her eyes stayed on his. I'm not asking. I'm implementing. He signed, without hesitation. That night, Marin sat in Ila's room, watching her color in silence. Isla said, Are they bothering you again? Marin blinked. Who? The people who used to make you sad? Marin smiled softly. Not sad anymore. Mad? No. Focused. Isla looked up. Can I help? You already are. How? You remind me why I don't fold. Marcella read the policy update on a printed sheet slid across her desk by her assistant. She didn't say a word. She simply circled a name in the middle of the document, the approving officer who let the vendor error happen. Then she made a call. Tell him to take the fall, quietly, no noise, no trail, and if he refuses. Marcella sipped her drink. He won't, and she was right. By the next morning, the executive linked to the vendor issue had submitted his resignation. Personal reasons. Marin accepted it without comment, because she already had the receipts, and she didn't need revenge. She had the results. That weekend, Marin took Isla to the trail cabin. They made sandwiches, picked up books, took juice boxes and paper. Siren joined them late. No tie, sleeves rolled, carrying a small wooden box. Isla ran to him. "You're late. I brought something." He opened the box slowly and revealed a small engraved plaque. Isla read it out loud. "Clay and Company, Strategy Suite." Her eyes lit up. "It has our name." Marin blinked. "You built this," Siren said. "She named it." "I just gave it a label." Marin touched the plaque. Not sentimental, not emotional, but something in her heart went still, like a knot had finally loosened. This wasn't a reward. This was recognition. And that she could accept. The internal vote came without warning. A mid-quarter motion from Marcella's faction, wrapped in language about restructuring for operational efficiency. It landed on everyone's desk at 7:02 a.m. Sharp. The target, Marin's role. Not by name, but by structure. If passed, it would dissolve the Strategic Growth Office and redistribute authority back to older department heads, people Marcella still controlled. Siren read it in silence. He recognized the tactic. So did the chairman. But this time, no one called Marin to warn her, because by now they knew. She didn't need a warning. She was already ready. By noon, she'd read the full motion. Twice. She circled every weak argument, every outdated statistic, and every name attached to the recommendation. Then she scheduled a board presentation for the following day. Subject, proposal, restructure. The restructure. No one declined the invite, not even Marcella. That evening, Siren found Marin at the park trail, Isla running ahead with her butterfly net. "Do you want me to speak first tomorrow?" he asked. "No, they're going to try to gut everything you've built, and I'll show them why they can't." He paused. "You're not nervous?" She glanced at him. "I already lost everything once, Siren. Now I know what I can survive." He nodded slowly. "If you fall, I'll fall forward." "But I'm not falling." The boardroom was full by 9 a.m., sharp. Marin stood at the head of the room, not beside Siren, in front of him. She began without a preamble. "You've read the motion. Some of you even signed it. Today, I'll explain why voting yes would be the most expensive mistake Holt Group has made in a decade." She clicked her remote. Slide 1. Revenue recovery under her leadership. Slide 2. Vendor satisfaction increases. Slide 3. International expansion timelines improved by 37%. Then she paused. Slide 4. Board conflicts linked to Marcella's faction over the same period. She let it hang. "I'm not asking for permission to stay. I'm offering you the facts. Decide if you want progress or nostalgia." The room went quiet. The chairman looked around. "Call the vote." Hands rose. 9 in favor of keeping her role intact. 2 against. 1 abstained. Marin stepped back. The motion was dead. So was Marcella's influence. For now, Marcella left the room without a word. Marin didn't watch her go. She didn't need to, because this time she wasn't surviving a push. She was standing in place and watching others lose their balance. Siren knocked on her office door that afternoon, not as a CEO, not as a strategist, just as the man who'd once hesitated. Marin looked up from her desk. "You want to talk about the vote?" He shook his head. "No. I want to talk about Isla." That made her pause. "She keeps asking why I don't tuck her in." Marin closed her laptop. "Because you're not on the lease." His brow furrowed, but he didn't flinch. "Then change it. Add me." Her heart stalled. "I don't mean full-time. I mean present time. Days I'm not traveling, nights I'm not stuck here." Marin leaned back. "Why now?" "Because she's not the only one who misses those moments, and I don't want to keep showing up in pieces." She studied him, then nodded once. "Okay. Try it your way." That night, he arrived at 7:40 p.m. He brought no gifts. Just himself. Marin let him in. Isla ran to him in bare feet, holding her stuffed fox. "Daddy, read 2 books," she demanded. Siren looked at Marin. She raised an eyebrow. She negotiates like her mother. He chuckled. One long one. Isla considered. Deal. They curled into the corner of the couch, a blanket tossed over both of them. Maren didn't interrupt. She sat at the kitchen counter, pretending to scroll, but really, she was memorizing the moment. After the book, Siren walked her to her room. No cameras, no witnesses, just a father, learning his daughter's rhythm. He returned to the living room. Maren was pouring tea. You remembered how she likes the fox tucked in beside her, she said. I watched you do it last week. She passed him a mug. You always were good at paying attention. Not always. Not when it counted most. She looked at him. You're here now. I want to keep being here. She didn't reply, but she didn't close the door either. Over the next few weeks, the rhythm held. Siren didn't overstep. He didn't stay late without asking. He brought Ela books from cities he traveled to, sent Maren notes before board meetings with concise points, never opinions. They weren't lovers again. They were something rarer, rebuilding from respect. One rainy Friday, Maren stepped into Siren's office. He was alone, reading an internal audit. She closed the door behind her. I want to restructure Southport further, merge distribution and logistics under one head. He nodded. You'll get pushback from Lucien. I know. He stood. Then let's handle it together. They stared at each other for a beat too long. I don't miss being your wife, she said. He blinked. I miss being your partner. He exhaled. Then let's stop missing. Outside, the storm eased. Inside, they began again, not from love, from alignment, from ground they both bled to claim. Together, Maren didn't ask for a title change. She didn't need it. But 2 quarters later, the board insisted. Her restructuring at Southport not only cut losses by 38%, but turned the division profitable for the first time in 6 years. She increased warehouse turnover rates, reduced partner liabilities, and led a quiet merger with a failing subcontractor that protected over 300 jobs. So when the votes came in to promote her from strategic advisor to executive partner, the decision wasn't emotional. It was math. Siren called her into his office after the board session. She stepped in, arms folded. Did Marcella abstain? She voted yes. Maren raised an eyebrow. Voluntarily? She said, and I quote, "A woman who cleans up, messes without whining, deserves the seat." Maren smirked. That's the closest I'll ever get to a compliment. Siren leaned against the edge of his desk. You earned it. Every number on that report backs you. You know I don't care about the title. I know. But Isla's going to grow up knowing exactly what her mother rebuilt. No silence, no shadows. That hit her deeper than she let show. She nodded. Good. Now let's clean up the vendor deal on Route 4. I don't like the margins. He gave a small smile. Always 5 steps ahead. Maren turned to go, paused at the door. By the way, I filed for partial legal guardianship for you. His heart skipped. For Isla? He asked carefully. Yes, if you're serious about being present, I'm not going to hold legal blocks over your head. He stood slowly. Thank you. She didn't look back. You're welcome. Later that night, Siren stood outside Isla's door. She was already in bed, holding her fox. Daddy, you're late. Board meeting ran long. Did you? He chuckled. It wasn't that kind of meeting. She patted the bed. Then read me the one about the penguin who learned to swim. He sat, took the book, and began. His voice steadied, warmed. Halfway through, she yawned and reached for his hand. Do you love Mommy again? He didn't pause. I never stopped. Isla blinked sleepily. Then tell her. He kissed her forehead. I will, she mumbled. Better before Christmas. Siren smiled. I'll try. In her own room, Maren heard the door click shut. She looked out her window, watched him cross the street toward his car. The rain had returned, slicking the pavement. But he didn't run. He walked slowly, like he had nowhere to rush to anymore. And that felt new. The Christmas party at Holt Group wasn't optional, it was tradition. Marin had declined the last 2 years without explanation, but this time, she RSVP'd. Siren didn't ask why, but when he saw her walk into the rooftop venue in a black velvet dress, hair softly curled, he forgot how to speak for a second. He stood mid-conversation with a logistics partner, mouth slightly parted. Marin noticed, but she walked past him without stopping. Not rude, just strategic. Let him feel the distance. Isla, dressed in a red satin dress and sparkly sneakers, ran toward the dessert table. "Mommy, they have hot cocoa with glitter." Marin smiled. "Just 1 cup, and skip the extra syrup." Siren appeared beside them. "I already compromised. Marshmallows only." Marin glanced at him. Bribing her this early, negotiating, like parents do. Marin looked at him for a long beat. Then, she slept through the night twice this week. His brows lifted. No more 2 a.m. wake-ups. She still wakes. She just looks for you now. His throat tightened. "Marin." She didn't let him finish. "Don't talk. Just show up. Keep showing up." Marcella approached the dessert table 15 minutes later. She didn't speak to Marin at first, just stood beside her. "The shareholders are pleased," she said quietly. Marin sipped her cider. "That tends to happen when you stop bleeding money. You're sharp, disciplined. I underestimated you." Marin didn't smile. "And yet, here we are." Marcella turned to her. "I'm not here to apologize. I didn't expect one, but I am offering something." Marin raised an eyebrow. "Full voting access. No contingencies. The 4% I hold over Siren's proxy. I'm signing it over to you." Marin blinked. "You earned it. Just keep the empire standing." Marin nodded once. "I will." That night, after the party, Siren offered to drive them home. Isla fell asleep in the back seat, cocoa still drying on her chin. Marin sat quietly in the passenger seat, fingers tapping her knee. Halfway down Madison, he spoke. "She asked if I loved you." Marin looked at him. "I told her yes." Silence stretched. "I don't need an answer," he said. "I just need permission to try again." She looked out the window, rain streaking the glass. Then softly, "You have it." Spring in New York was soft that year. No frost on the windows, no bitter wind down Fifth Avenue. Just light sun, faint blooms, and a strange sense of peace Marin hadn't felt in years. She walked Isla through the Central Park conservatory paths. The little girl bounced with energy, her curls tied up with a green ribbon. In her hand, a Holt Group keycard hung from a lanyard. "You let her keep that?" Siren asked, catching up beside them. Marin smirked. "She found it in my purse and said it was her access to the power tower." Siren chuckled. "She's not wrong." They walked in step for a few moments. No business, no tension, just the kind of quiet that felt earned. "She's starting preschool next month," Marin said. "I know. I listed you as an emergency contact." He looked at her. "That means more than you know." Marin didn't smile. "Don't make it sentimental. Just be the one who shows up if I can't." "I will." Back at Holt Group, Marin's corner office had her nameplate, Marin Clay, partner and strategic director. She didn't gloat, didn't redecorate, didn't act like someone who came back for revenge. She came back with results, and the board respected her more than anyone Marcella ever brought into the fold. The empire didn't collapse. It grew, cleaner, sharper, leaner. Because Marin wasn't the woman who needed permission anymore. She was the one who set the blueprint. One evening, Siren stepped into her office just before sunset. She was finishing a report. He stood at the door. "I never said thank you," he said. "For what?" "For not destroying me when you had every right to." Marin set down her pen. "I didn't come to destroy you. Why did you come back?" She looked at him fully now. "Because I could, and because Isla deserved more than a story about silence. A beat." "I missed you," he said. "I missed the version of you who showed up. I'm him now." She stood, slow and quiet, and walked to him. Then stay. He didn't move toward her. She moved toward him. Their hands touched. No rush, no past pain. Just something real. I'm not the woman who left, she said. I know. And I'm not staying because of you. I hope not. They stood like that. Eyes steady. No lies between them. On Sunday, Isla found a note on the kitchen counter. Wrong exit. Right return. She carried it to her mom. Maren read it aloud and smiled. If you've ever watched someone lose everything, only to rise stronger, you know this story wasn't just fiction. It was a reflection of quiet strength, of redemption, of knowing when to walk away and when to return on your own terms. Maren didn't beg. She didn't scream. She simply left. And when she came back, she didn't ask to be seen. She built something that couldn't be ignored. If you've ever had to rebuild, if you've ever carried the truth in silence, if you've ever stood in a room that once rejected you and commanded it with calm, comment I came back stronger below, because some returns aren't about revenge, they're about clarity. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories right now. This is where we tell stories for the quiet fighters, for the ones who don't chase validation, for those who walk through fire and rebuild the house. New stories drop every day on love, betrayal, dignity, and legacy. Hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next, because the strongest stories don't scream, they simply echo.